What's up guys, Raw-Russ here, Tools and Tech, and today we're going to hang some drywall. We're going to show you how to hang drywall for a whole house, how to do a whole house. All the materials you're going to need, all the tools you're going to need, and as always, links below to make it easy on you, and it helps this channel, so please use the links. So let's start out with the materials that you need and tools. You're going to need some drywall. We got a couple sheets of 1/4 inch, only because we're putting it on top of already existing paneling. But I would suggest you get 1/2 inch or 5/8. 5/8 is better for sound deadening in between rooms. You're going to need some tape. Use the paper tape, not the fiberglass. Sandpaper, but we're going to try not to sand and just use sponges because it's better for your health and the mess is a lot easier to clean up. No dust. If you do get dust, you want to need these dust masks. You're going to need a screw gun. What really helps is a drywall screw gun because it stops right here, look. So it won't go all the way through the screw gun. However, if you don't have this, a regular one will do just fine. Just stop when you're like 1/8 of an inch inside the drywall, because it will go all the way through and then it's not holding on very well now, is it? Drywall saw, knives for corners, different sizes, a mud pan, drywall screws, coarse for wood studs, fine for metal studs, a utility knife. I like the ones that don't retract, they're just solid. Pencil and tape measure. If you have any corners that you're doing, you want corner molding. This is like this. Match what the rest of the house has. Utility bar, a rasp, a texture gun. You can use either an air-powered one with an air compressor or this guy. It's just electric. It's got an electric fan in it. If you're doing a real small job, just like a hole in a wall repair, you know, a small hole, you don't want to pull out all this equipment and make this huge mess. Buy this guy. Also going to need mud, T-square or straight edge to get those nice lines, and a pencil. Get your 4 by 8 sheets, and you want them up like this, not this way, on the walls and the ceiling. You want them across as many studs as possible, and you want to get at least 5 screws all the way across. Remember, 2 nails equals 1 screw. Here's a hole in the panel that we're never going to talk about nor see ever again, right? And if you have something like this, you want the studs all level, all flush. That way your drywall doesn't press in on it. So you make furring strips. That way it's all level across here. First step was we had to take all the crown molding off the top and the baseboards off the bottom with this guy. Just pry it off, try not to break it so we can reuse it. And get everything else off the wall. Now we're going to set the drywall on the wall and we're going to butt it all the way up to the corner and all the way down to the ground. Nice and flush. Use our drywall screw gun and put 4 in. Now, I got this 1/2 inch thick paneling behind it, so I don't even need to find a stud, but you will. If you're just covering up a hole in a wall, you know, like someone punched it or whatever, the easiest shape is a square. So whatever shape the hole is, cut it into a square first. Then you get a piece of 2x4. Like let's say this was a hole in the wall. Get a piece of 2x4 and you put it on the edges of where the hole is in the drywall. Pretend this is drywall. So you put the 2x4 behind it, half behind it and half not. That way, and then you screw it in with your screw gun. Then do that all along so you have something to screw into. Then you cut a piece of drywall the same size and shape as your hole, square, and then you have something to screw into. Then you press it in, and then you screw it into the 2x4 that's right here. Tape it and do everything like we're going to show you. Same. So unless you're Superman, you got X-ray vision, you can't see behind the drywall when you place it. So you want to mark the studs ahead of time. They're usually placed at 16-inch centers, and if you notice on the tape right here where it says 16, got a little box around it. Get your tape measure across your piece if you can't see the studs, but you can see where the other drywall screws are. And you just put a mark at every 16-inch center. Then you take your T-square, wherever you put your mark, and just put a line. Then you know where to screw in. You might have 24-inch centers, especially on a ceiling. Especially if you see your ceiling going like this. It's probably on 24s. You have X-ray vision just right here. So if you go from the corner, there's always a stud in the corner. Go across. Right there, that's a 16. There's a stud there. Go to 32, there's a stud there. See junction boxes, like where your receptacles for your either light switches or junction boxes for your outlets, they always have a stud on one side of it. So find out that, and you can measure 16 from there. This is just tips to find studs. Or you see if your stud finders aren't working. You just push the button and found one. These might help a little bit. 16. 6, 8, 19. 8, 19. Now I know where to screw in. I marked every 16 inches across the top, a little mark, and I just take my T-square line. Okay, so we're putting this bullnose corner on. It needs to be cut back a little bit right here. We're using 1/4 inch. So we're gonna cut this back like a 1/4 inch. You're probably gonna need to cut it back at least a 1/4 inch from the corners to use the corner molding. We cut a 1/4 inch right here. We marked it with our T-square. Take your utility knife, score the paper along the line. As deep and hard as you can get it. It'll probably go maybe 1/8 of an inch deep on one side. Then you just grab it and you crack it. It's a really thin cut. On a big piece, it'd be easier to show you, but then you take your utility knife on the back side of it and you cut. Just right there. And of course, you make a huge mess and you make sure you're wearing your proper footwear, steel-toed boots. Now, if you need to get any more, just a little bit, you use a rasp and you just take it along the edge and you push. And it makes a huge mess, but it just cuts just a little bit for the piece to fit. Look at the color of this carpet. That's our carpet, so we are trying to not make a mess. We're gonna clean while we go, and we were blessed with this teeny tiny little baby vacuum cleaner, shop vac. As you could see, we got enough, because there's enough for a 1/4 inch one right there. See right here, there's a little bit extra. Rather than cutting it, I'll rasp it, even though it's gonna make a huge mess and it's raining outside. Now I'm gonna hang it, so I'm gonna push it all the way to the edge here and put some screws in. All the way against the wall. Get our screw gun. This is cool. Links below because it stops automatically. It's a lot faster than like the regular one like he's using. So when you're doing a big job, it just stops at the right depth. Otherwise, you're gonna go too deep if you use a regular one. You can just be careful. Go slow when you get close so you don't go all the way through the drywall. We're just gonna put like about 5, 1 on the end and 3 in the middle on each line that we drew, which represents the studs. And I drew special lines where there was no panel right there. You hear that noise? It stops it from going too deep. So there are some cons to using this. For example, right here, there's nothing solid right here. That's where the hole was. You can just feel it's not solid. It's kind of hard to get out, so you reverse it, and then because this presses in with the push, you sort of push it in, and then you kind of like push to the side to grab onto the screw. So there's some cons to this. Just enough to get the head and then just pull it out. Alright, so we got the first piece on. Now, standard height ceiling is 8 foot, so it'll be exactly 2 of these. But not everything's standard. So this house's ceiling is a little low in this room right here, so we're going to measure it. I'm going to measure it on both sides because people, like houses, are not perfect and it might not be exactly square. So I'm going to measure over here 39, and I'm going to measure on this end 41. Not exactly square, so I'm going to put 2 marks at those measurements, draw a line across, and cut it. I'm just going to put it at 39. It's 39 1/4. I'm going to write 39 over here. Measure thrice, cut once. You can always cut more, but you can't cut less. And if they have a drywall stretcher at the store available, buy it. You need it. They didn't have it available when I went to the store. Get a friend or your grandpa to help hold the tape, and since we're doing a long cut, it's a lot harder. Usually you don't have to do a long cut, but because of the ceiling height, we're going to do a long cut. So I got the tape measure pulled tight, marked at 39, and hold it and just go along with my pencil. Didn't have this guy because this is only 4 foot long for the short end. Press hard. So I would ask my daughter to help me break this because she's got a mean judo chop. But you just take it and you go, a judo chop! Watch out! You can see where the studs are from the studs on the bottom one, so we're just gonna follow them up. We don't even need lines, you know, unless we start missing a bunch. On my cord.